What's up, guys? Recently, I've had a couple encounters where I feel like I've really failed at communication. They're two very similar encounters, at least the way I felt in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through and kind of describe a couple aspects of the encounters, of the conversations, just to help frame in and tell you how I'm thinking about my failures and how I utilize failures to improve. And then to give you guys a tip relative to failing, because it's to be expected. So let's dive into it really quick. The conversations that I had, they were with strangers. So that's the first element that probably makes it a little less comfortable. They were impromptu. It wasn't something that I got to prepare for or plan, and I didn't really have a message to deliver. Right? In a lot of my videos that I talk about, it's preparing for communication with someone you know, or someone that you can learn about, and it's something that you can kind of plan ahead for, or that you can work through over time. These were a little bit more, well, they were far more impromptu, just random encounters that happened in the past couple weeks. And in particular, I felt like I was put into an awkward position, or I felt very uncomfortable in the position that I was in the conversations, mostly relative to the topic and the situation. And I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but those three things were definitely common. It was somebody I'd never met, so strange to me. It was impromptu conversation. You would have never saw it coming. And then lastly, it was something where I felt uncomfortable. And relative to the topic and the position that I was in, not so much just the conversation in general or the fact that they're strangers. So getting into it, the way that I utilize failures, or the way that I reflect on my failures, is through journaling. So I spent some time today kind of writing these things down and using this video as a tool to think it through and understand the aspects that really led to the failure, or what was my mindset in the conversation and how did I approach it, and what did I not do, or what did I do, and all these aspects that I can work through in a journal on my own time, with as much time to think about it as possible. And ultimately all this is just preparation for the future, right? Next time I'm in one of these positions, I hope to have a takeaway from my reflection that's going to help me improve. And I definitely believe I will. But ultimately, we could look at failures as a learning tool, right? It's something that, as I'll touch on at the end of the video, it's bound to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. So I take it as an opportunity to just review, reflect, and journal on it. Sort my thoughts out, kind of understand what it was that bothered me or prevented me from being successful. So ultimately, I think my takeaway from my reflection is to communicate my truth, or communicate your truth. And it's because I knew what I wanted to say inside, like in my head. I definitely knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say it. And so then I just didn't. And that, I think, really was my failure in the communication, in the conversation. It's something that I definitely would plan to do differently in the future. And I think part of the reason why I didn't know how to say it is ultimately just because I was having to say that it made me uncomfortable to somebody I didn't know. And I didn't want to be rude, I suppose. But ultimately, I think that there was a way to say it that's pretty easy and pretty simple. It's just saying, I don't know what to say to you, but I'm here to listen, is really ultimately the biggest takeaway. Or on the flip side of it is just understanding exactly what it is that I'm thinking and feeling, and putting it out there without really stopping myself and preventing myself from communicating, because I think it was mostly me, or at least I feel that way. And then lastly, just a tip to take away is that failure is a guarantee. in anything that you're going to do. And I always like the simple phrase, I have no idea where it came from, but man plans and God laughs, right? We can plan for the perfect scenario or plan to be ready when anything comes up, but it's likely not going to happen. And failure is just something that needs to be expected. But the benefit of failure is that we have the opportunity to learn from it. We have the opportunity to reflect on it and to get better. And failures is exactly what that opportunity is. We go back and we learn and we kind of what went wrong, or what can we do differently? What can we do better? And I think detaching yourself from the outcomes necessarily and understanding and reflecting on your role in the process or how you executed your process is one of the fundamental drivers of personal development and self-improvement. And particularly in anything that you do, but definitely when it comes to communication. You get tons of opportunities every single day to communicate, to have conversations, to send written messages, right? Especially with technology the way that it is and remote work the way that it is, and how prevalent text messaging is. But all in, I don't feel terrible about these failures. I wish I had done better, but I get the opportunity to do better next time. And using some effort and energy and reflection gives me the perfect opportunity to do so. So hopefully you find these useful. I mean, they can be very simple concepts, but one of the things that I've learned is something that might seem simple to you is not simple to someone else. They haven't learned it yet. And so if you haven't learned these things, I hope that you found my videos and you get to take away some of this information, and hopefully it helps you out, because my goal is to help you shorten your learning curve, because I've spent a lot of time and energy learning myself. So I do hope it helps. You can't lose if you don't quit.